I can never get my camera on fast enough to show you any of the crap, but I might as well go ahead and do this. This Edward Snowden is very interesting because he's telling us he leaked information, I guess, if you want to call it a leak. I think he told us stuff that we already knew, but he has more. And I'm not inclined to I believe what he says and what he disclosed, but I'm not inclined to trust him, because why would you tell us something that we already knew? I mean, we know through the John Warner Defense Authorization Act and the National Defense Authorization Act and all of these other different acts that they can do pretty much anything they want. I mean, the Patriot Act says that. But there's another special program for black people that I would like to hear about. No one's leaking that. This other real special program, and I think we saw some of it during for the Trayvon Martin situation. I think that is I think that the National Security Agency killed Trayvon Martin, and I think that's why you kept seeing Snowden and the Trayvon thing. You always saw these two things in the news as of late. They paralleled each other. And I believe, in my heart of hearts, that Trayvon Martin was gang-stalked in that small little neighborhood. And ever since the Patriot Act was signed, maybe even a little before then, these neighborhood watch programs or whatnot were put into full gear. We're put into high gear. And they are training how to spy on people, and they're using young black men as a landscape, so to speak. Because I've been gang-stalked in every city I've ever been in since 2000. I'm in Los Angeles again, in Chicago when I went and lived there for a year, a couple of years ago. When I went back home, there's gang stalking there, absolutely. And gang stalking is when the whole neighborhood sort of fucks with you.
This video illustrates the concept of gang stalking. Gang stalking is also known as vigilante stalking or cause stalking, and it involves using several different individuals and vehicles to give a person the message that they are being stalked, yet not give them the ability to identify a single perpetrator. I've just bought a video camera, and this is the first time that I've taken it out. Instead of driving away as I normally would, I sit and play with the zoom on the camera. I hadn't realized the cyclist was sitting at the corner. I actually discovered him after I zoomed in on him. So I decided to sit and keep filming. This is something the stalkers didn't expect me to do. Notice the hand movements here. The guy lifts up his hands, points at the car that's approaching. His hands go back down again, and then he leans towards the car. Also, notice that the white car is missing a hubcap. This is important because the car will be coming back. You may have noticed that I've altered the video slightly. I've inserted still images to illustrate certain points a little more easily. As the ladies approach the corner, there's no indication that they know the guy until they get close to him. Watch as the blonde woman walks toward him, and obviously he says something to her, and she turns around and looks in my direction. The other woman seems to stop herself from turning around completely. The blonde woman points at me. Watch now as the guy on the bike signals someone else. He looks at his wrist as though looking at the time, then turns his palms upward as if to say, "I don't know what's going on." This is just before a cyclist and a car come by. Certain behaviors are repeated in order to let the victim know that something is happening. In my case, cars, cyclists, and pedestrians are used when I leave the house and also when I'm coming back to the house. The blonde lady appears to say something to the guy, and he continues watching me after she leaves. A man named David Lawson managed to infiltrate one of these groups, and he wrote a report on it called Terrorist Stalking in America. At this point, he scoots down a little so that he's more concealed by the trees. According to Lawson, cause stalking has been used by extremist groups since the early 1990s. This gives the viewer a reminder of how far away the cyclist actually is. There is absolutely no way that he can see that I have a video camera. In fact, if he knew I had a video camera, he wouldn't be sitting there. The only thing he can see is that I'm not driving away. Here comes the white car again, back in the opposite direction. There's no exit in that direction. In order to leave the neighborhood, he has to come back the other way again. According to David Lawson, the people who are involved in gang stalking are often not employed, which gives them the ability to follow a person at any time of day. In addition, he makes it quite clear that these groups are cults. And now a third cyclist is about to approach. And as soon as he comes around the corner, he looks at me, and keeps watching me the entire time. After he gets on his bike, he actually rides up the wrong side of the street. It looks like he's trying to figure out what I'm doing. At the end of this video, you'll see a picture of what I looked like to them. Lawson says that when stalking groups move into a neighborhood, there is an increase in the number of break-ins, noise, and it will become a high-traffic area. And now a fourth cyclist is about to approach. And here comes the same white car a third time. The basic system is alleged to have been developed by the Ku Klux Klan and refined through years of use. The primary characteristic of cause stalking is that it is done by large groups of people. A target will always be followed, but he is unlikely to see the same stalkers very often. The cyclist has now left. I've blurred the video here on purpose to protect the child's identity. And I lowered the camera when a second child came by. 2 more cars are about to approach. That's 7 cars, 4 cyclists, and 3 pedestrians, not including the kids, on a Tuesday afternoon, within a 5-minute period. This is a picture of my car taken from where the cyclist was sitting. It's very obvious from this perspective that there's no way he could have seen that I was filming. So this begs the question, what were all those people looking at? What was so interesting to them?
Techniques. A large part of this covert harassment protocol involves psychological harassment of the targets. To achieve this, a profile of the target is gathered and then a program of harassment is implemented using many of the methods below. A psychiatric reprisal. This was used in Russia to have dissidents listed as mentally ill. This practice is now being used against workers in America and other democratic countries. Across the United States, companies have seized upon concerns about workplace violence to quash dissent. Hundreds of large corporations have hired psychiatrists and psychologists as consultants to advise them on how to weed out threatening employees. They say they are only responding to a 1970 directive from the U.S. Occupational Safety and Health Administration that they maintain a safe and secure work environment. But by drawing the definition of threatening as broadly as possible, they are giving themselves a new club to bang over the heads of workers. A violent person registry. Some targets might find that they are being targeted because they have been placed on a violent person registry. This means that they will have a flag that comes up anywhere they go listing them as violent or potentially violent. This can happen to anyone, for simple reasons and without your knowledge. This can go on for years. Please read Jane Cliff's story. Gangstalkingworld.com web link. Air stalking. This is when helicopters are used to track targets that are on foot, or in cars. They fly overhead and follow the targets from one location to the next. Some will monitor the targets shortly after they leave their homes. Brighting. As targets walk on the street, usually at night, civilian spies snitches will turn on their high beams. This might be flashed once or twice at targets. The idea is to intimidate the target and let them know they are being watched at all times. Crowding. Mobbing. When the target is in public, civilian spies snitches will usually try to box the target in. Egg. They will surround the target in a square-like formation if possible. They will stand too close to the target, or swarm them. Directed conversations. These are conversations that complete strangers will have out in public relating to the target and their personal situations. Egg. They will repeat things a target said in their home, or on the phone. They will let drop very personal details into the conversation, that could only be related to the target. Egg. Perp 1. It's a shame Uncle Ed won't be able to come. Perp 2. Yeah, since he died golfing on Saturday. The target will just have learned of a death of a favorite uncle, possibly named Ed, while out golfing. Directed energy weapons. Electronic harassment. Usually when they feel they have psychologically targeted a target to where they are near breakdown, they will start to use these weapons. They will also use these weapons if targets are not going along with their harassment control protocol. Visit www.eharassment.com. www.stopconvertoire.com web link. Emotional sapping. This is similar to the concept of an energy or psychic vampire. You know, negative people who drain your energy when you are around them, or who are really good at transferring their negativity onto you. As a target, you are being exposed to dozens of people on a daily basis, many of them who do not wish you well, or want to hurt you even though they don't know you. Without realizing it, you are also being emotionally, mentally, and spiritually harmed on a daily basis. After time, this can get to you and weaken your defenses. This is when you might notice that you are more susceptible to this form of energy drain. It's a very real phenomenon and one to be on the lookout for. Once you are drained of energy this way, you will notice that it's easier for these people to access your life and cause you harm in other ways. There are emotional shielding techniques that can be used to help try to prevent this. There are also lots of books being written about these types of negative energy draining people. Entrapment. To lure into dangerous, difficult, or compromising situations. The civilian spies snitches will try to lure targets into various situations for the sole purpose of setting them up. Setting up targets could involve getting them arrested, institutionalized, set up on fake sexual harassment charges, drug charges, illegal pornographic materials, etc. Once this happens, it puts targets at risk for entrapment into becoming civilian spies themselves. Files. It has been indicated that targets will have files shown to relatives, storekeepers and friends. The files are usually not left behind, but they are used to show legitimacy and to further slander targets. These files can be used to engender the corporation of friends and associates of the targets. Most importantly, these files are usually fake. The files might have a picture of the target, and information about some alleged crime that they might be under investigation for. The information is usually very convincing and helps to further get targets harassed by those around them. www.jabul.com web link. Gaslighting. Doing little things to try to make the target think that they are going crazy. Coming into their homes, moving their furniture around. Changing clothing that they bought and replacing it with similar, but inferior items. Taking small items and then replacing them later on. Lawnzoni.com web link. Gassing. Poisoning. Spraying fumes or scents into a target's home. Tampering their food to make them become very ill. Illegal entry. Breaking into the target apartment while they are out. This is usually done for many reasons. To gaslight the target. It's used to help profile the target. To set up illegal surveillance. It's a way to find out intimate details about the targets. This can be used later to set up the target by using people in photo albums, or by directed conversations about things in the target's apartment. Illegal surveillance. This involves setting up audio and visual surveillance of the target. Bugging the target's phone. Video surveillance of the target's residence. This can be done externally. Listening to cell phone and hardline conversations. This can also be done externally. Hacking into their computers and learning all about what the target is doing, sites they frequent. This also helps to build a profile of the target, and it's also used for later psychological attacks against the target, and to get in touch with the targets in aspects of their lives that might be otherwise unknown. Illuminating targets. This is something that the East German Stasi secret police did to targets. They would spray the target's clothing with materials that would make them glow, or they would irradiate the targets with X-rays so that they glowed in the dark. Many targets have reported extreme visibility at night. www.telegraph.co.uk web link xml=news/2001/01/04/wstas04.xml. This is one possibility that targets can examine. Intimate infiltration. This is where civilian spies snitches will go out of their way to get into a target's life. They will try to form friendships with targets. They will try to form intimate relationships with targets. They will get close to people that are affiliated with targets. Years before the target ever realizes they are targets, they will try to get into a target's life. If they can't get into your life, but you have a best friend, their new significant other might just be a civilian spy's snitches. The same goes for siblings and the people that enter their lives. Isolation. For this harassment to be successful, it's important to be able to isolate the target from friends, family members, co-workers and even spouses. To accomplish this isolation, many methods are used, included, but not limited to slander, lies, fake files, sabotage, anything that will get the target into a situation where they have no support system. This is important for them to succeed. Laser microphones. Laser microphones are microphones with a laser beam. They detect vibrations with a laser and convert it to a digital signal. Lasers are usually bounced off a window, or off any object near to the conversation monitored. Any object which can resonate vibrate, for example, a picture on a wall, will do so in response to the pressure waves created by noises present in a room. The minute differences in the distance traveled by the light to pick up this resonance is detected interferometrically. Light that is subject to the varying distance is mixed with light that travels a constant distance. The interferometer converts the variations in distance to intensity variations, and electronics are used to convert these variations to digital signals that can be interpreted as sound. Mail and email tampering. Civilian spies snitches will steal your mail. They will delay the delivery of your mail, and they will also make sure that your mail does not arrive. The other thing they are known for is the tampering of email. They will delay email, delete email, and stop email that you have sent from arriving. Mimicking. This is trying to copy things in a target's life. Leaving when they do. Dressing like they dress. Throwing out the garbage when they do. Going to the bathroom when they do. Doing whatever the target is doing. This is all designed to be psychological warfare, so that the target again feels like they are under observation at all times. Noise disturbance. This will include anything from doors slamming above you and below you. Garbage disposal doors, car doors, loud stereos, stopping, moaning at specific times, loud coughing, pot slamming, water running, cupboard doors being slammed, fridge motor running all night, power tools, etc. Profiling. Targets will be observed and profiled long before they ever become aware that they are targeted for this sort of harassment. Profiles will be created on targets by following them, following people close to them, breaking into their homes and going through their stuff, listening to their calls, hacking into their computers, gathering information from friends and family, seeing where they like to shop and eat. What are their weaknesses? What things do they like and dislike? What can you bribe them with? What can you blackmail them with? How can you bully them? How can they best be controlled? This will all be used to put together a profile of the target and then to get them into situations for their detriment. Random encounters. This will be people on the street who you randomly and unexpectedly run into. It looks completely natural and it seems to be a random encounter. They might ask for your phone number after engaging you in conversation. Ask you out, or just ask you where you are going. Anything from small talk to lengthier conversations. Ask you for spare change. All with the purpose of finding out something about you, or even just getting you to do something. Ruin relationship. When targets are in a relationship, the civilian spies snitches will try to ruin that relationship. This could be friendships, family or significant others. If it's a romantic relationship, they will find out what your significant other likes and try to get them to cheat, or leave you. If it's a friendship, they will tell lies to come between you. The same goes for family. This is done so that targets will have no means of support, once they do realize that something is going wrong in their lives. Sensitization. This is getting targets sensitive to an everyday stimuli. Examples: colors, patterns or everyday actions. Red, stripes, pens, whistles, loud coughing, clapping, waves, keys jingling. Egg Joe will be mobbed at work, and as part of that daily mobbing his co-workers will loudly cough at him every time they harass him by calling him names like loser, worthless, lame, demented. They will slander him and have others as they are slandering him show disgust by glaring and coughing at him. Out in public they will follow him loudly and obnoxiously coughing at him. When he goes to stores they will get others to do the same. After months or years of this, Joel has become sensitive to the stimuli and it can be used to harass him without the names and the glaring looks. The association has been formed because of all the other harassment. Egg. A girl is sexually assaulted and a sock is shoved in her mouth during the assault. To keep her quiet or stop her from pressing charges, the assailant, his friends and family will follow her around and throw socks in her path, mention it everywhere she goes and show her their socks every chance they get. She will get the message they are sending. Because of the brutal attack, she and what's happened after she is now sensitized. Sensors. These are used around the home or the apartment of a target to let others know the location or room that the target is in. These can also be used on autopilot. Egg. When a target trips a sensor it can turn on a silent alarm or even the sound of running water. This effect can be used when targets are in the bathroom to let them think that their movements are being watched and observed. Signal symbols. They will also communicate with each other on the street by using Stasi-like signals. Below are examples of Stasi signals. Signals for observation. 1. Watch out. Subject is coming, touch nose with hand or handkerchief. 2. Subject is moving on, going further, or overtaking, stroke hair with hand, or raise hat briefly. 3. Subject standing still, lay one hand against back, or on stomach. 4. Observing agent wishes to terminate observation because cover threatened, bend and ready shoelaces. 5. Subject returning, both hands against back, or on stomach. 6. Observing agent wishes to speak with team leader or other observing agents, take out briefcase or equivalent and examine contents. Slander. They will go behind the target's back and tell lies about them. Often the lies will consist of the target being into something illegal, or is someone dangerous, or just needs to be watched for some vague reason. Egg. They will say the target is a prostitute, drug dealer, crazy, terrorist, gay, racist, pedophile, etc. Sleep deprivation. Depriving the target of sleep is a really good way of leaving the target stressed out. It's also a way of leaving them disoriented and functioning at less than 100%. Then the targets can be baited into reacting in public, or getting into a car accident. Strange encounters or street theater. This is running into people that are acting very unusual, or people that are putting on scripts or productions, known as street theater. Egg. This could be as minor as public rudeness, or people acting out a skit or skits for your benefit. There will usually be someone nearby to see how you react to it. This is again looking for weakness or reactions. If you show an adverse reaction they will try to embellish on this and use it against you later on. There is usually someone conducting the production, and at least one person acting out the performance, and someone observing the reaction. Egg. If you take the bus, every time the bus stops, the person will jingle keys. The observer is looking for your reaction. They are trying to find what they can use to sensitize or control you. It seems random, but it's all synchronized and coordinated fully. Telephone redirects. When you make a telephone call, get the name and ID of the person that you are speaking to. Civilian spies snitches have been known to redirect phone calls. Egg. If you call the cable company, gas or phone company be sure you know that it's actually them that you are speaking to. Theft. Breaking into a target's home and taking small items, usually nothing of value. However there are exceptions to every rule. Civilian spies snitches will usually try to see what they can get away with. Tracking. The targets are tracked by various methods. Targets are tracked on foot by foot soldiers. They are tracked in their cars. Targets can be tracked by using their cell phones. If their cell phone number is no, there are internet programs that will track a target to within a few feet. GPS tracking and tracking their electronic devices, laptops, cell phones. These are all ways that targets are tracked where they go and their activities monitored. www.squirrel.com web link, 114,721 page, 1/article HTML. Wrong number calls. Targets will daily get wrong number calls. These can be automated or they can be persons pretending to be wrong number calls. Perps will use this as a way to annoy targets, but they will also use this as a way to keep in constant contact with their targets. They want to know where the target is at all times.
Just like, this is why I'm recording, because this is what was happening now. I'm sitting here waiting on an appointment in my car, not bothering anyone, and some Brady Bunch family, I don't know, some Aryan bunch of Nazi family here, comes and tries to park a big ass Yukon in this small little parking space. Let me show you. Now, there's no way that a big ass Yukon could fit in that space, but this was to show me that this was to show me that what I was doing was wrong. Sitting here, being black is wrong. You know, they know that you're not doing anything wrong, but they're trying, it's a psychological warfare, you know. There's the private war that they have on the people, which is what I've been accustomed to, and then there's that hot war that's, you know, and overseas over there, whatever. But anyway, back to the Snowden thing. So I don't really believe that Snowden is anyone important. If anything, he's Central Intelligence, and he's there to stir up the pot and act like an enemy of this country and see who takes him as bait.
Well, now the question that I'm going to pose today is Snowden being protected by the CIA? Some have alleged that the Department of Justice purposefully sent documents with the wrong information for Snowden, which delayed the process.
And was it
him.
his middle name?
Well, they said that his middle name was James,
okay.
But on his passport it said Joseph. And then further, when they sent the numbers over to Hong Kong, they didn't include the passport number. So then Hong Kong asked for clarification. They never received it, and this is why Hong Kong said that they had no legal basis to block his departure.
Well, I mean, there is kind of there is an age-old battle between the CIA and the NSA for funds, and maybe the CIA wanted this guy to come out and kind of blow the whistle on what the NSA was doing. Who knows?
I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know. I mean, Hong Kong also said that any suggestions that deliberately let Snowden leave the country was totally untrue. So
I find it suspicious that in Hong Kong's statement about Snowden, they talked about U.S. activities that were snooping on Hong Kong. So there might be a little bit of direct retribution there. But hey, this is a financial show. Let's get to the financial aspects of all this. So what is it?
I mean, there's definitely a lot of money at stake here, a lot of government contractors involved, there's a lot of money in that, so who knows? I just wanted to pose the question, get people thinking.
Exactly, that's what we do, question more, right?
Right, here on RT. But I want you also to look out for a flying sports car that
I believe if he went to Venezuela, he would have destroyed the country. This man knows everything there is to know about computers and networks and the web. And I believe that the first thing he would have done is destroy one of those South American countries or any of the countries that said that it was okay for him to stay. I think that they were falling for the trick. I think that Putin has a strong enough military and strong enough country, and I think Putin will put a bullet in him himself if he does anything to Russia. So I think that's why Putin is unafraid of the Snowden situation. But I think that China and a lot of other people reassessed who Snowden really is based on the lack of information that he leaked. Because I know that the NSA, it has to, this neighborhood watch thing, this thing that killed Trayvon Martin, had to have been bigger than George Zimmerman. They watched him from the 7-Eleven and had him on camera, knew he was walking down that street. We don't know if George Zimmerman just saw him or if George Zimmerman got a text. Everything is text now. Everybody's on the phones. These are these spy phones and whatnot. We all have them. So he could have got a text, hey, Negro walking down street, follow him, apprehend. You know, and so basically Trayvon Martin was killed by the National Security Agency through the apparatus of Neighborhood Watch. Obama has not said anything about this. They're diverting your attention from one thing, which is, I believe, them using this thing called PRISM and testing it out on young black men. They're not talking about that. What they're talking about is, let's have a conversation about race. And the National Black Caucus will, all the Black Masons will give us a little wordplay and we'll try to stroke our egos and stroke us a little bit. And nothing really will get done. Nothing will change for us economically. More tragedies will happen to us. And they'll call that progress. So it's not working. You might as well have a white man in the office. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is ridiculous. It's stupid for even trying to placate to our ego or stroke our ego. Or this is ridiculous, you know. It's obvious that Obama has no power, and this also shows that the president has no power. The president really has no power. I mean, he has military power and whatnot, but the real decisions are made behind the scenes, you know. For instance, Obama is for the National Security Agency continuing to collect information, whereas part of the Congress, which is the part of the Congress and Senate, openly are against him, because the agenda of the White House is always going to be the same, no matter who's in there, you know. So I just wanted to give those thoughts. I'm going to be uploading this to YouTube. I wanted to give those thoughts on the Ed Snowden, Trayvon Martin thing, and how they tie together. Now, here, you know, they use whoever they can, but okay, let me go to something else. The Congress was going to vote a bill that says that they can't basically data mine using Verizon, and they voted no for it. I mean, that bill was so weak anyway. The bill should be, you know, no more gang stalking, no more using a whole neighborhood against one person or one individual for no other reason other than the color of the skin. But the real reason is to test this weapon called PRISM, this apparatus, or using this apparatus known as Neighborhood Watch to attempt to destroy someone physically and mentally, you know. Now, this cop just came and pulled up here and waited while this white family tried to park in here, and he just stared, and I didn't even look at him, but I could see him through that reflection. If you could see that, I could see him through that reflection, and they just stared. And their whole point is, this is, like I said, this is a psychological attack. The whole point is to tell you you're wrong. Just existing, you're wrong, you know. This country, for me at least, and white people will join, but eventually later, but I'm saying that there's no difference almost in this country, and like China is like looking good as an option for me to move. It's the same freedoms. China watches you all the time, so does this country. If you fuck with the government, China will have no mercy on you, so does this country. China will lock you up for no good. They'll record everything you say. You can't say anything about the government. Or if you do say something that they call a threat, they'll arrest you immediately. Well, that sounds like this country with the Guantanamos and the Gitmos. It's all the same. So, you know, Brazil, way better country than this country right now. England, I can't stand England. England is a freer country right now, I believe, than the United States. Germany, this is not the greatest country in the world anymore, for the simple fact of the Patriot Act and things like that, to destroy other people's freedoms. The moment somebody says in this country, well, we're the real Americans, and we have our freedoms, and we're going to protect our country from other people that have been living here just as long as we, if not longer, that's the moment that you destroyed this country. You know, this country's not a tribe. We're not related, so it's all supposed to be a cooperative thing. We're all supposed to agree to get along. And there is the white man, and I'm talking about a specific white man. I call him a troglodyte, and you can't really say the redneck, because in LA, the guy that just passed here, you know, the cops, it's the same energy. Big head white dudes who are the descendants of Neanderthals, who love war and fighting and killing, and then they got black people doing, you know, acting like them. Black guys, you know, the big black dudes think that, you know, being tough is being like this troglodyte, you know. So it's real ridiculous and it's another thing that's ridiculous is to feel that the government actually cares about us. CNN, Anderson Cooper, and all these people talking about race. These people don't care about us. They don't care about me. I can't speak for us, but they don't care about me. because the gang stalking shit and all of a sudden let's everybody's walking their dog all slowly and shit like that. That's not in my mind, man. People know, and they've done psychological tests. The subject knows when they're being watched and stalked, subconsciously and consciously. They know that. So it's kind of pointless to have this whole thing be a charade. Just come out and attempt to do it, baby. Come out and say it. But I definitely think if somebody wants something new and real in this country, and we want a new economy, a real new economy to emerge, this troglodyte energy, this Neanderthal Fight Club energy that goes to all races, creeds, and colors, just these big-headed troglodyte dudes, and some of the women, they have to be excised from the experience of freedom. Well, they don't know what freedom is, so, but they do. They all have to be sort of like, I don't know, moved to another spot or whatever, and go to their own place where they can kill each other. And George Carlin talked. I'm not the first one that's talked about this. George Carlin's talked about this. Get all those kind of people together and give them their own land. But those are my thoughts on the Snowden Trayvon Martin case. Basically, Trayvon Martin was killed by the National Security Agency using their PRISM, which gives you an apparatus of the Neighborhood Watch program. And that's what they're using on young black men. Now, when someone leaks... Just finishing up. When someone leaks that shit, when someone leaks the shit I just told you, that's when I believe that's a real leak. This is all bullshit. And remember, before Trayvon Martin, before they got him, George Zimmerman, I just wrote it off because, it was like a month. It was months before they finally pressed charges against the guy. So they didn't really, and remember the Jon Stewart show or the Daily Show where he basically admitted that they did this to this child for Dick Cheney's heart. Let's not forget this stuff. Let's not forget this stuff. So if this is a way for certain powers that be to use the African Americans as some sort of battering ram in order to get the guns, it's probably gonna work, because the African American community has been heavily infiltrated. Here, watch this. The dog is being disobedient. Because, did you see that? Look at that. Look, the dog does not want to go with him. You know why? Do you know why? Do you know why that just happened? That's amazing. The dog the dog was acting fine down the street. The dog does not, as soon as he passed me, the dog is like, no, I don't want to go with you. Because maybe you're out here for dishonest reasons and nature knows that. That's a beautiful thing. That was funny. I'm glad I got that on camera. Anyway, my thoughts. I'm going to upload this tonight, okay?